Hello and welcome to the second video looking at the Eldar in Battlefleet Gothic Armada. So in this video we're going to cover off on the upgrades, skills, favours and crew for Eldar. So let's kick it off with the upgrades. So engine upgrades, what do we got? Void Predator. Sounds awesome. Pretty much as you can see there, it's more or less if you can hide in a asteroid field or a gas cloud, 20 points of penalty and accuracy for the enemy shooting at you. Now while the gas cloud sounds good, and it is, the asteroid field on the other hand, unless you're also going to take the upgrade that negates damage from asteroid fields, don't. Eldar have no hull and you'll kill yourself getting into the asteroid field, pretty much negating all the damage that you probably won't take from the accuracy penalty. So Phoenix Sail. So as you see there, it's a case of if it suffers the critical damage on the engines, it divides that speed penalty by 2. Now this can be useful for Eldar because as long as they're maintaining a fast speed, their hollow fields are up and good. But in saying that, they do have to suffer multiple critical damage hits on the engine before it really becomes an issue. Spectral Helm. So just increase the rotation speed of the ship by 5 degrees per second. I like this for Eldar because they have to keep pointing their front towards the enemy. You want them turning as quickly as possible to just keep that damage on the enemy. Dragon Sail. Yep. 25 extra points of speed. Now I know Eldar are already quick, but hell, you can always make them quicker. Right, under the generator we have our Polarized Field, and that is the damage done by asteroids to the ships are negated. Reinforced Hollow Field. Ship's hollow field cannot be reduced under 20% efficiency, so I would actually consider taking this if you're worried about that hollow field problem. I just find it better. Right, solar energy accumulator, 5-second reduction in cooldown on your Wraithbone shift. Essentially, you want to be boosting slightly more often, go for it. Deflecting hollow field, useful across the board. Every Eldar ship pretty much should have this because it halves that fragile attribute problem. So I talked about it in the last video where we just looked at the ships. It is a real downside to them. They do take that critical damage more. This just reduces that by half. So useful. Right, onto the deck. Wraithbone Bridge. Yeah, continue to use special orders when your deck is destroyed. Vigilant Spirit Stones. An extra 2,500 units on your detection range. The Enhanced Infinity Circuit. 50% extra duration on lock-on, brace for impact and reload. All fairly standard. Our Harlequin's Mask here. So when using the brace for impact, it actually improves your troop value by 5, and in addition another 5 for every point put into the Harlequin crew member. So you can actually up your troop defense by a fairly significant amount. I mean, that the 5 from it, plus if you were to put all 3 points in, that's an extra 20. Now Eldar are considered to have a fairly weak, if not the weakest, troop defense going around, so this can be quite good to really offset that. But is it overly worth it? I mean, against Orcs and Space Marines, but how often you're facing them, is it enough to waste both points in this and in your crew when there are maybe better things to be putting it into? That's a decision I'll leave up to you. Maybe you face them a lot, maybe you have a regular couple of people you play with and they play with orcs and or space marines and you really want that protection, but hey, it's up to you. So under hull we have belt armor. If you've seen my other videos, you'll know I like belt armor. Just ignoring that first permanent critical damage inflicted to your systems is really nice. Some extra defensive turrets. 50% shorter fire duration. Yep, and improves the duration of the running silent by 100%. Semi-useful for Eldar to a degree. Wing combo with other things, but I tend to run a slightly different way of doing it. Right. Under weaponry. So, as it says there, when using the lock-on special order, your star cannons will switch from a 90-degree front angle of fire to a 270. Now this is potentially quite useful as you don't have to keep that front pointed forward. So it is definitely one to consider. Yep, increase the range of the star cannons by 3000. Essentially turn them into armor piercing. If you are running the Eldar ships with ordnance, which I would highly recommend that you do, and in the case of the battleship you don't have a choice, you want this. You want those squadrons coming out more often. They're going to come out more often, that means more damage, and trust me, in this case that is a lot of damage. Yep, an additional assault action from your lightning strikes. So fairly standard to your lance sort of stuff, 50% more damage against shields for your pulsars. Personally, I don't see the pulsars firing off enough to be worth putting points into them, but maybe you're a better micromanager than me and they're more useful to you. So while using the lock-on special orders, pulsars chance of dealing critical damage are increased by 100%, so they already have a relatively high percent to start with. Again though, it is for your pulsars. And guided fire. So when the reload special order is activated, so it decreases the reload time of star cannons by 2% every second as long as they fire on the same target. So this can be a little bit harder than you think, because you got to remember, while you can tell it what ship you want to fire on, if it sees another ship, it will still fire upon that ship if it's the one that's currently within the firing arc and not your other ship. So you really have to make sure you're keeping that ship inside your firing arc and the nearest ship. Now, I'll admit it, I'm not the best at micromanaging, and these ships do require a high degree of it, which you will see in the next video. But this is still a relatively hard thing to pull off regardless. You really want to just slot in behind another ship and keep tracking it. Anyhow, if you feel you can do it, it is very good, because you're essentially doubling your DPS from your star cannons. If you can maintain that for, as it's only 2% every second, you'd have to maintain it for 25 seconds, but to get the full effect. But against some of the larger ships, that's probably going to happen. Saying that, you're probably also firing your pulsars a couple of times during that, so. Right, skills. What's available? So under defense, we have Wraithbone Reinforcement. So it harnesses the frontal armor for 20 seconds, takes it up to that 75%. It's not canon for ramming, not that you should really be ramming with Eldar ships anyhow. But obviously, as your front is pointing towards the enemy quite often, hopefully, it can be useful to absorb the damage a bit better. Hollow Field Overcharge. So I like putting this on my larger ships in particular, just because they're the ones most likely to slow down, especially while they're turning or whatnot. So yeah, just means that your hollow fields should stay up. Right, fairly standard, the disruption bomb and the plasma bomb for our damage. So disruption bomb, yep, that's going to take out their shields, and the plasma bomb's just going to do straight up damage to them. Again, very useful as always versus escort ships. Obviously not completely useless against other stuff, although it can be a bit harder to hit the other stuff as well. Right, Augur Disruptor. Now, I don't mind running these in an Eldar fleet, because I have found that it is quite useful to knock them out, because you are going to be running well within its range, and now all of a sudden they can't shoot at you, which is very useful for Eldar to have, because essentially while those hollow fields are good, whatever damage is making it through the hollow fields, it's very quickly making an impact. You have no armor and very little hull. Right, standard stasis bomb. Now, I personally don't find this particularly useful for Eldar. One, they're faster than everything else out there anyhow, so they don't really need to slow down the enemy for kiting purposes or anything like that. And they've got no lance weaponry. I mean, they've got pulsars, but that's about it. And they've got a long cooldown and other issues. I just really don't find this particularly useful for Eldar, but it's there if you want it. Alright, under support, rally. Always like having a rally in there, especially usually chuck it on one of my larger ships where I have a few more skill points to spend. I mean, Eldar aren't likely to run anyhow, but hey, just in case. Dark Star Squadron. Now, if you're running the Torp variant as opposed to the Ordnance variant, I'd probably consider taking this, as these are particularly useful for Eldar. You really don't want Torps getting through. For that matter, you don't want Ordnance getting through either. But obviously, if you are running Ordnance bays, you should be able to pump out your own enough that that won't be an issue for you. Right, my favorite, the Wandering Spirit Stone that is stationary. So yep, that's the standard. I'm going to plug this here or on a ship, and it'll let me see for 2,500 units around it. Not as useful for Eldar, as they tend to stick very close to enemy ships anyhow, well within the range of the actual Eldar ships. Detection radius, so limited usefulness, but it's there if you need it anyhow. It can still be useful, I suppose, for plonking it down if you think something might be hiding in a gas field or an asteroid belt. Right, the Wraithbone probe. Yep, standard probe. Travels at 600 in a straight line and reveals anything within its range as it goes. Right, maneuvers. So the good old webway slip here. Again, Eldar are just so quick. Even the battleship here is faster than most light cruisers. I don't see the need for it with them. But in saying that, it could still potentially be useful, but yeah, I don't see it being as useful on Eldar as most other races, where I will give it to my battleship because they are so slow. On the other hand here, Vol's maneuver, as it says there, it affects a 180-degree turn. That's instantaneous. It will quite literally, you will see a flash and you will see it facing the other direction. extremely handy, especially on the larger ships, as they do have the slightly lower rotation, at least for Eldar, and you really do want that thing facing forward. Also, if you're traveling in a fleet, they may have issues where they've got to wait for other ones to turn or whatever. This way they don't. They'll quite literally turn on the spot, and it'll be good. Just be a little bit careful. So I'll usually run it on auto. But if you are going to do that, make sure you're making your ship go far enough past the other ship before doing the turn. Otherwise, you can be just past the ship, turn it, and now suddenly you're pretty much running into it. So keep an eye on the cooldown. In saying that, do run it on auto because it just makes it easier. As soon as it's available, it will use it. Cool. So the Favours. So what do we have? We have a Latok. That gives us Pathfinder Assault. So this sends a Ranger Strike team, causes automatic critical damage, which is nice, but it is only temporary. But it can target a ship with its shields active. So, you know, it's nice. It's on cooldown at the start of the battle and has 240-second cooldown though. So that's 4 minutes before you can use it. Don't know about you, but I've looked at the length of some of my battles and they only go for 5 to less than 10 minutes. You know, like, yeah, you're gonna get 1, maybe 2 in a longer battle uses out of it, tops. Alright. Camellia line alloy. As long as it isn't moving, it is considered hidden, not even appearing as a blip until something is within the detection range. The problem is, Eldar ships really need to be moving. No movement, no hollow fields, but a clever player might be able to use this to their advantage against other human targets. Just keep in mind that no matter what, the AI always knows where you are. So yeah. Alright, Biel-Tan. Avatar of Cain. Replaces the basic lightning strike. It can deal permanent critical damage, which normal lightning strikes can't. Other than that, not much difference. Saying that, does come with a lovely sound effect, and you will always know when this is being used. Yep, and just some aspect warriors, which will increase your troop value by 10. Same Han. Phantom Disruption. So, distant enemy ships scanner. So like I said, range of 2000 within the targeted area of 3000 units are crippled. So this is essentially a long range version of your Augur Disruptor. And it is AoE. This can be quite useful. Right. And then Ambusher. So they sort of work in concert here, because as long as the ship is hidden, its attacks to inflict 25% more damage. Only for the star cannons and pulsars, but essentially I can hit them with this as I come in, and then I'm hidden, or I'm counted as hidden because they can no longer see me. I can hit my running silent. I can enter what would normally be their detection range, which isn't now. Last 20 seconds, I'm going to get off a decent number of shots in that time. And blast them. So yeah. Then Ulthway. Maelstrom. Nice bit of AoE. Only problem here is that while it ignores armor, it only does damage to shieldless ships or anything without shields. Keep in mind, your ships don't have shields and it can hit your own ships. But at 10 damage per second for something that lasts 45 seconds, yeah, you can do a lot of damage. The only reason I would consider taking a stasis bomb would be potentially to make it easier to catch things in this. Saying that, is still just a great area of denial ability. No. Psychic blockade. Troop value increased by 15 against lightning strikes. Not bad. Okay. Crew. So obviously if you go the torps you won't have the eagle pilot, but otherwise everything else is standard. We've got our Harlequin, so he's going to reduce the chances of us running. They were already pretty low as it was. This guy can pretty much reduce them to 0. Our Void Dreamer, yep, reduces the delay for the warp disengagement and reduces our chance of getting lost in the warp to 0 if we put all 3 points in. Bone Singer, who doesn't like improving the efficiency of their emergency repairs, especially on Eldar ships which don't exactly have much health to start with, so let's repair as much of it as we can when we can. Warlocks, because we all like doing that little bit higher chance of critical. Blade Swarm, yep, you can increase your troop value. As you've seen, there's plenty of other ways of increasing your troop value, and I would argue better ways if you wanted to do that, rather than putting 3 of your crew points into here. Spirit Stones, I will always recommend putting all 3 points into whatever happens to be sitting in this position, because reducing the cooldown time of your skills by a maximum of 12% when you've put all 3 in there, just always useful. There is no downside to it. And our Eagle pilot here, yeah, gives the ordnance 10% chance per level to avoid disruption when it is hit. So obviously 30%, just shy of a third. Yeah, that's pretty decent. So that's our upgrades, skills, favors, and crew for Eldar. Hope you found this informative, and join us again next time.